Hey everybody, my name is Andrea and this is
Bryant.
And it has been a while, at least a month or so, that we have taped our last pod. What is it?
Podcast.
I'm already messing up. Our last video podcast because we have been going through some different challenges as a family, and so we kind of had to take some time to deal with that. I'm sure all of you guys have had to go through stuff, but I've not talked about this one time since it's happened. This is the first time.
What?
I've talked about Angel.
Oh yeah, Angel.
It's gonna make me emotional. I'm gonna have to go get paper towel or something. Our dog that we have had for ever,
Since
15 years?
yeah, somewhere around there.
No, it hasn't been
No,
15. Oh gosh.
It was in the train track house.
It was in the train track house. That's right.
That's all I remember now.
We had Angel for a very long time. So we adopted her from someone. And, oh my gosh, what year was that? 2005? So, no, it was before then. Somewhere around in there. Anyway, long story short, we've had her for about 14 or 15 years. So it's been a while. And she passed away, it's probably been almost 2 months ago now. So, I don't know the exact date. I would have to check. And so we've been dealing with the loss of a family member because she's our family member. So it's been a little difficult going through that. She was old, so she was going blind. Well, she was pretty much blind.
Yeah.
And she had already went partially deaf, and so we knew kind of things were progressing that direction, but when it happened, we did have to make the decision, and I don't know how many of you have ever been through the situation, but it was a very hard thing to make that decision. And so with that decision came some hard things because going through grief, when you lose a family member or a friend, it brings up all the other grief situations that you've never dealt with before, or maybe you haven't fully processed yet, and that's what has kind of happened with us. Bryant and I have been talking about what did we want to do for our next podcast, and the first thing that comes out of my mouth is we need to talk about grief. And one of the things that we have been through as a family, like we first talked about, is with dealing with some of the things that we have been through, is we go through grief a lot.
Yeah, I believe so.
I feel like we are the poster people of grief. Not only have we lost a lot of friends and family members, but I think going through a medical condition in your family provokes grief. And so one of the things that we just wanted to talk about for a little bit today, in honor of Angel, our dog, which sounds crazy to even say that because, like I said, this is the first time I've even really mentioned anything about it, and it's making me emotional. I felt like I was going to be hardcore and be like, it's my husband Bobby's dog, and because she did follow him around a lot, but I do miss her because the stuff that you're normally used to doing every day, you're not doing anymore. Like today, I went to the grocery store and went down the aisle for the dog food because I'm used to getting her treats all the time, and I don't do that anymore because she doesn't eat them. So anyway, the stuff that you're normally used to doing, you're not doing anymore. So with that said, I think
saying the name to the dog and it's not there. You realize. Oh,
I
crap.
know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. it's just crazy. We did make her a little place in the backyard.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. So one of the things that we go through, let's see, this has been about 10 years ago, right? I think it's started about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
You struggled with you were just struggling, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that you were struggling with was what we come to find out was grief. And do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I know when you were going to the doctors, getting all those surgeries done, the doctors talked about that you were dealing with grief because you had body parts missing.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I'm like, well, if you never had the body parts and you've lived without them all this time because he was born with half of his heart and missing other body parts, why would you grieve them being gone? And they had to walk him through a process because there were certain things Bryant wasn't allowed to do growing up, like taking gym class, or there's certain things we just take for granted. And he couldn't do anything physical. And you were struggling watching everybody else do things and you couldn't. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Just kind of how that made you feel, or?
It made me feel like bad in a way because you can't do those things.
So you're seeing
and you're looking at everybody else having fun, but you're not.
Yeah. And so when you're watching everybody else kind of live their life and doing things that you felt like you wanted to do, you had to go through a grief process. Mm-hmm. And then once you went through the grief process, you were able to kind of find your own...
Find my own thing, my own niche, and found out that I wasn't missing out or anything.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So he had to grieve what he felt like he wasn't really missing out on to find out what he did have. And it was a whole process for him. And I know for us, being in that situation, we had to grieve because my husband and I, we had this image in our mind of we wanted Bryant to grow up and do all of these certain things in our mind, that you have these dreams and aspirations for your children to grow up and go to school and do this, that, and the other. And it's good things, but things turn out a little bit different. And so I think that we went through our own grieving process of that happening, and then you have to deal with the situation that you have in front of you. And so I think that, and that's okay. And you have to give yourself permission to do that, because if you don't, what do you think would have happened if you really didn't go through that process? Do you think it would have made you stuck?
Yeah, probably. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Because I think all of us can get stuck in grief if you don't honor your emotions or say, hey, I'm feeling this kind of way, and learn how to process through them. We are a faith-based family, so I think that for me especially, I had to just get before the Lord and say, hey, this is how I feel, this is what's going on inside of me, but I know that you have a better plan and all things are going to work together for good. And I see the bigger plan now. Like we talked about before, we had went to your appointment a couple months ago, and his doctor was talking about how the things that they learn on him, because he's made it this long, is helping other kids coming up underneath him that are born with the same type of condition live longer. Remember when your doctor said that?
Yeah.
And so you don't realize that your life, all of our lives are meant for something and it's meant for good, and then your life has a purpose. And hearing what such a big purpose that Bryant's life has, that you don't realize it because you're so stuck in the situation at the time that you don't realize that your life is making a difference in all these other kids, helping the doctors gain wisdom and knowledge and getting what they need to do these procedures on kids born after him. And I thought that was pretty good that God is using that to help other kids, right?
Yeah.
You were even out helping somebody today, so I think that's pretty cool too.
It's helping with gardening.
Yeah. So he's always out helping somebody. He's always on the phone helping people. People call him up and talk to him all the time when they have things going on, and so I think that's pretty cool too. And so we just wanted to kind of come on, this evening and touch base since it's been a little bit and talk about grief, which is not a great subject, by the way, and ask you guys the question. So if you have anyone with extraordinary abilities, that's what we call, any type of struggles physically or even emotionally that you may have in your life. Have you ever went through the process of grief? And if you have, please comment, below the video, and we would love to hear from you, and just see what you've ever experienced. And then we want to comment back because I'm sure we're not the only ones. Yeah.
Even if you're not grieving over something, still leave a comment because you're probably trying to get to that process of grieving, but you don't know how.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe you haven't even done it before.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't even realize that's what you're doing. So yeah, that's good. Because there's people out there who probably might be where we were.
Yeah, you don't want to do it the wrong way. You want to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. We've done a lot of things the wrong way. We've done a lot of things the wrong way. We don't have all the answers, but we know we've done a lot of things the wrong way. So we know either how to help you or how to guide you to the people who can help you, because we've done it wrong so many times that we can't really miss too much. But we've learned how to use humor as to kind of get us through some of the things. So yeah, you're right. That's a good one. So anyway, we would love to hear from you. Again, comment below. Again, we're going to dedicate this video in honor of
Angel.
my family's going to crack up when they hear her whole name, because I think every dog that we've ever had growing up had the same middle name. It was Buttons Malone, and that was my dog growing up. And every dog I've ever had the middle name Malone. I don't know where we came up with that name at. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And in my little childhood mind, it was Malone. So my mom or somebody's going to have to correct me in that. But it's Angel Malone Wynn.
AKA Puddles.
Yeah, that's right. So this video is dedicated to Angel. I was going to see if I can find a picture of her. If not, you can get on my Facebook page and check out some pictures, because I have a ton, or I did not a ton, but I had some on there of her, some of pictures on her. But here's one. Oh, you can't really see it. It's so bright. How do you do that?
I think you gotta turn your screen brightness now.
Mm.
Oh no, that's not it. That's not it. What the? There we go. There we
What are you doing?
Go back. There's the brightness.
Oh wow, my song's playing. Do you see her? Well, you can see her a little bit.
Sort of.
Anyway, that's Angel taking a little bath.
That was that day where she rolled in her own poop, I think. I'm serious. I saw her take her bath.
Oh, God. This is going to be one heck of a video.
Because she came inside, she was all poopy.
She had a serious problem with that. Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, as you see, we have a unique family. We will keep you laughing. All right. That's it. So that's it for this episode. Again, comment below. And thanks for watching. And we will make sure that we stay on top as long as we don't lose any more pets. All right. Thank you for watching.
All right. Thank you. And y'all have a great day. And make sure you like and subscribe.
Yeah. All right. Bye.